What are the biggest trends that are happening with smudging with sage? This is my very first trends and predictions for the year ahead video, and I'm so excited to share it with you all today. Hi there, I'm Mallory, and in this video, I'll be talking about the top 8 smudging trends that we can expect this year. I thought this would be a particularly cool topic to explore, as smudging itself has been picked up by pop culture a lot in the last 5-ish years. Some trends that I've seen in the past few years have been the introduction of smudge kits, for example, as well as smudging as a practice itself has become a lot more trendy for non-Indigenous people. Now, Indigenous people of North America have used smudging as a way to purify and restore balance and cleanse for generations. Indigenous cultures believe that through smudging, negative energies can be released and replaced by positive energy. Ultimately, this leads to improved spiritual well-being and mental health. Smudging is a really important part of Indigenous cultural practices in many Indigenous communities and nations, and it helps individuals to reconnect with their culture as well. Okay, now the top 8 smudging trends that we can expect to see this year are the following. The 8th smudging trend for this year is that more Indigenous people are going to learn to smudge as they prioritize their mental health and foster a deeper connection to their Indigenous roots. Now, to put this simply, society is making the importance of mental health and wellness more acceptable, less tabooed, and more normalized. So with that, I believe Indigenous people who are connecting with their culture will do so by learning more about smudging. Now, why do I think this is a trend that will happen? First, because prioritizing mental health and mental wellness is becoming more and more relevant. So finding new and unique and personal ways to help with self-love and gratitude are emerging each and every day. And a top way to do this using Indigenous ceremony is through smudging. Some examples of this are people who are setting goals to focus on their wellness and naturally choose practices that connect with themselves personally, right? So finding new ways to deal with your own pain, struggles, and generational trauma is very, very current and necessary. It's amazing because it connects Indigenous people with their ancestral traditions and culture. Smudging is part of Indigenous culture, a big part, and it involves the burning of sacred herbs like sage, sweetgrass, and cedar to create positive energies in your home or space or just in your own body. So what do you think of that trend? Let me know in the comments. The 7th smudging trend for this year is smudging with different types of medicines and materials. By different types of medicines and materials, I mean combining smudging with sage and other sacred medicines such as cedar, sweetgrass, and tobacco. You can also create floral smudge bundles and other unique arrangements to make your own personalized smudge stick and make it more custom to what you want and what you need. Now, why do I think this is a trend that will happen? Well, smudging with different types of medicines and materials will definitely trend upward because more people are exploring smudging as a whole and how to personalize the experience with different types of medicines and different combinations of florals and smudging fragrances that can help with the aromatic experience and with the healing experience itself. Now, some examples of this and how this can look like means purchasing or making your own combinations of sage bundles. Smudging with cedar is a very popular practice because it helps promote health, clarity of mind, and protection from harm. Offering tobacco at the beginning of a smudge is very good protocol if you're talking with a traditional elder or knowledge keeper, and smudging with florals in your smudging routine is also a really good way to make it more personalized depending on the florals that you choose. Now, why is this amazing? This is amazing because integrating different medicines in your sacred practice allows you to diversify your healing and personalize your own experience for yourself. Now, what does this mean for you and how can you get involved with this trend? It means that you can learn more about different sacred medicines to see how you can reap even more benefits from your smudging practice. Now on to number 6. The 6th smudging trend for this year is Indigenous allies or non-Indigenous people are going to learn more about smudging as reconciliation becomes a higher priority for non-Indigenous Canadians and our North American brothers and sisters across Turtle Island. So to put this simply, I mean reconciliation is something that has been gaining tremendous momentum in the last couple of years, and more non-Indigenous Canadians are becoming allies. And this will create more interest in cultural awareness and activities that can help people to learn about Indigenous cultures. Now, why do I think this is going to happen? Well, Truth and Reconciliation Commission calls to action and advocates surrounding truth and reconciliation are pushing a societal movement towards more Indigenous allyship. The number of Indigenous allies is growing tremendously too. So there is just overall growth in non-Indigenous people engaging in Indigenous cultural education and Indigenous cultural experiences as well. Now, what are some examples of this, particularly non-Indigenous people learning more about Indigenous history, diversity of our people, the subcultures within Indigenous nations is helping to advance reconciliation. And all of this together is creating a better future for us all. Now, why this is amazing? Well, all the parts that I just said kind of speak for themselves, I think. But if you're someone of non-Indigenous background who wants to get involved more, there are tons of ways that you can learn about how to appreciate and learn about smudging respectfully, such as videos on this channel. So you can subscribe and check them out at your leisure. All right, moving on to the 5th smudging trend for this year. The 5th smudging trend for this year is smudging and ceremonial practices will be made more accessible and more culturally centered environments where organizations are making it a priority for the cultural practice to take place. To put this simply, I mean having access to sacred medicines and sage and incorporating smudging as a cleansing practice and creating an inclusive environment where you can go and smudge. Why do I think this is a trend that will happen? Primarily because wellness is extremely important and relevant, and the connection wellness and health has to so many other environments is getting more highlighted for so many people. Now, some examples of this can potentially look like the environments that include education or diversity will include more cultural practices. So schools, sports and extracurricular environments, social service environments, and corporate and public environments. Now, why this will be an amazing trend to see is because people are in need of spiritual and holistic healing, and they'll have access to it when they otherwise wouldn't. People will also be educated and exposed to Indigenous knowledge in a way that is interactive and experiential. I would love to know in the comments below, what do you think of smudging being incorporated into some of these experiences and new environments that are culturally focused? Do you see it happening? Let me know in the comments below. Now, the 4th smudging trend for this year is smudging ceremonies being integrated into more events that are aiming to be strong leaders in reconciliation. To put this simply, I mean that smudging at the beginning of an event will become more popular as event organizers and people are wanting to advance reconciliation. You're seeing more land acknowledgements in many environments and more recognition for Indigenous culture, Indigenous people, and more efforts towards truth and reconciliation. Some examples of this are in many events, conferences, sporting events. They're incorporating cultural practices and land acknowledgements, and I believe that smudging and other ceremonies will follow suit, starting with a prayer or closing the event out with a smudge prayer, something like that, right? Why is this amazing? This is amazing because not only will smudging ceremonies be integrated into more events that will help bring more cultural awareness to light, but it will also make cultural practices more accessible to people who can really use these teachings for healing purposes and for diversity and inclusion and attracting positive energy and all the good stuff that smudging brings to you, right? Now, what does this mean for you? How can you get involved with this? If smudging as an Indigenous ceremonial practice that you feel could benefit in an event or a large group setting that you're going to be a part of, start learning more about Indigenous cultural practices, smudging with a group by watching this video here. And then start getting the people that you're working with or that are in your environment introduced to this incredible practice as well. Okay, now on to number 3. So the third smudging trend for this year is the Indigenous cultural significance of smudging will become more widely known, and smudging being used as a trend will become lesser and lesser. To put this simply, I mean, in the past few years, as many people have been introduced to smudging because of it being trendy, more of these people who enjoy smudging will learn about its Indigenous cultural significance. Now, why do I think this is a trend that will happen? Because research shows that more and more people are becoming more invested in the significance behind the products they use, the values of the people they follow on social media, and the authenticity of people and brands that they surround themselves with, especially when they're making choices to follow or engage with them or purchase from them. This means more people are going to look into their decisions and how they're going to spend their time, how they're going to spend their money. Some examples of this are things like information and perspectives that are readily available, that the accessibility to learn about something, what it's all about, and its origin and its significance is becoming more and more easy to obtain. So more people are going to learn about the significance of smudging instead of just doing it blindly. So this is amazing because learning about cultural awareness and cultural significance is a huge step towards truth and reconciliation of Indigenous people. Yay! Okay, now do you agree with this one, this trend, this prediction? Let me know in the comments below. Now on to the second smudging trend for this year, which is Indigenous smudging online, and using social media to share your journey of smudging will become more popular. Now, to put this simply, as people are learning about their journey of smudging and connecting with Indigenous cultural teachings, they're going to share more about it on social media. Why do I think this is a trend that will happen? Because more people are sharing their journeys in general. Now, some examples of this happening are things like sharing your journey in reconnection with your culture, or sharing your experience of learning how to smudge and using social media to learn and share content from creators who you support, as well as sharing your journey of learning about truth and reconciliation and becoming an Indigenous ally. Now, why is this amazing? Using social media to share your journey with smudging or other cultural knowledge brings more awareness to the cultural practice, especially if there is knowledge and education that's tied to it, which is another area of progress towards truth and reconciliation. Now, what does this mean for you? How can you get started? This means that if you are someone who has interest in smudging with sage or learning about Indigenous cultural significances, you should absolutely share about it, talk about it, no matter where you are on your journey. Even if you are just talking about, thinking about it, inspire others to learn about it as well. Share your journey, share your knowledge and your experiences. Okay, now the first smudging trend for this year is more floral sages and fun combinations of wellness kits. Now, to put this simply, smudge kits are incorporated with fun combinations of floral arrangements and other related wellness products such as Palo Santo, scented candles, essential oils, etc. Now, why do I think this is a trend that will happen? Well, smudge and wellness kits are all about personal wellness, holistic and spiritual wellness, which is very high in demand right now and will continue to be, in my opinion. Now, some examples of these wellness and smudge kits are smudging kits that are comprised of traditional sacred medicines, or smudging gift sets that might be traditional or include other wellness items as well, such as soaps and candles that follow a health and wellness theme. Now, why is this amazing? This is amazing because it creates a great way for people to obtain health and self-care items for themselves. It's also a great gift for people who you love or people in your life that you want to support on their wellness journey. If you want to see some of the wellness and smudge kit collections that we have at Tribal Trade, check them out. The link in the description below. Now, I would love to know what you've thought of these 8 trends for smudging. Let me know in the comments which of the 8 smudging trends we will see this year. And if you think I missed any trends that we could possibly expect in the year ahead. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an incredible day and we'll see you next time.